That the soul was not a fact, a simple thing you were and possessed, had seemed to Sandro so reasonable. Still, he believed it. That reality, in a sense, was not an objective place where you were thrust. You had to maintain your hold on it by vigilantly keeping watch over whatever slight and intangible thing gave your life its meaning. Call it a soul or presence. Whatever it was, a prisoner or guest, and you had to trick it or petition it into lingering. People weighted themselves, Sandro knew, if not with stones. That is a quote from our next book, The Flamethrowers.
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome, everyone, to our 4th episode. Can you believe it?
Oh my god, can you believe?
4th episode of Book and Bitch. We're doing it, guys.
We're here. You ain't getting rid of us.
No, we're here to stay.
It's been like 2 months. We're in September now, you guys.
Oh my gosh, we are. I keep forgetting that.
I know. It's taken so long. Well, hello. I'm Raven. I'm one of your co-hosts, Raven Welch. And I'm here with the lovely
Ginnye.
Ginnye, who just gave you that wonderful quote from, like we said, The Flamethrowers by Rachel Kushner. We're going to talk about that book today, and it should be a good time.
I think it'll be interesting, because I think we had, once again, different viewpoints on it.
Yes. I'm still trying to come up with my opinion on this book, I think.
Well, I guess
while I'm trying to remember it.
You don't have to have an opinion on it.
That's
It
true.
can just be what it is.
That's true. It is what it is, what it is. What else is our Twitter and Instagram page. That was a really bad transition, but I tried.
I mean, it kind of stuck.
Yeah, it works. There was a lot of ises. But that's on Twitter and Instagram, we're at Book and Bitch Pod. And then our website is
bookandbitch.com.
bookandbitch.com. We made it easy for you people.
It is super easy.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't find it, you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Just go to the Google machine.
Yeah, but where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me personally at, well, Twitter and Instagram at glcubel_rights. Remember, writing, rights.
Pen and paper, yep.
Not human rights.
Exactly.
Or, I just realized, I always forget to mention this one, I have a website too. You can go to glcubel.com and see some of my other works and writings and cool things.
She has a lot of cool, writing blog stuff, and it's really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, go check it out. In the meantime, you can find me on the internet on Twitter and Instagram at Raven_co-op. I'll go ahead and plug a little bit of my stuff. You can find me on Tuesdays every week on wherever you're listening to this podcast, on my regular podcast, Co-op the Podcast. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Co-op the Podcast. I'm also in a D&D live stream that happens every Tuesday over at twitch.tv/Scraticus. Where I play a cute little pink tiefling.
I was about to say, you should go watch it because she recently just dyed her hair pink and it looks super cute.
I did! Yeah, exactly. I was slightly inspired by my character who is pink on pink on pink, but I also really want to do it because I'm having a life crisis. But it's fine.
I mean, that's what you do when you have a life crisis.
It really is.
I love it.
It
looks really good, though.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So yeah, that's where you can find me. Yeah. Do we want to get started on some author background?
I got a whole bunch of bio background.
Okay,
You ready for this?
So excited. Let's do it.
All right. So, Flamethrowers, written by Rachel Kushner. She's still alive. One of the few authors... No, actually, all the authors we've read have been alive, except
for Shirley Jackson.
Okay, never mind. One of the many authors we've read that's still alive. She was born in Eugene, Oregon, not too far from where we are.
That's true.
She was the daughter of 2 scientists, and I'm not sure if this came from a interview she did or something she wrote, but she described them as deeply unconventional people from the beatnik generation.
Okay, I can see that.
And I love it because I think beatniks are great.
I love that.
Very
turban.
Very West Coast of them.
Yes, exactly. It was a very Jack Kerouac almost.
Yeah.
That's
Allen Ginsberg.
Yeah, 100% what I think of.
Which is, now that I'm thinking about it, very interesting because you see those influences come through in the book.
Absolutely.
Okay. I digress. I'm going to go back to Rachel Kushner. One really fun story she has from her childhood is when she was 5, her mother took her to a feminist bookstore in their neighborhood and asked the owners if Rachel could come after school every day and work. And by work, meaning go through all the shelves and alphabetize the books and straighten them.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day after school, she would walk to the bookstore, do her work, straighten all the bookshelves, alphabetize them, and then walk home again.
I'm going to say whenever I think of feminist bookstores, I think of that Portlandia skit where they're just like super hostile and it's like hilarious. It's like one of their best skits. If you haven't seen it, but do that. But yeah, no, I can see that.
I just loved it. I thought it was so cute. I haven't seen the Portlandia skit, though.
The Portlandia skit's good. You have to read it or watch it. But yeah, I can totally see that in her writings lately.
Yeah, and she also mentions, too, that she thought it was the influence that kind of, like, pushed her towards writing and what got her started on her literary career path. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about kind of, like, the ideas of feminism in this book, too.
I know. I've got a bunch of notes. I'm so excited.
I love it. I have, like, 0 notes. Ginnye, every week every time we record, she has, like, so many notes.
I've got so many like, bullet point list.
I'm like, I'll just wing it. Whatever. Let's do it. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Do it live. All right. Well, I'll wrap up on the bio here, and then we'll do a brief synopsis of the book. But when she was 16, she began her bachelor's in political economy at UC Berkeley with an emphasis in Latin American politics. Which is
Okay.
So interesting little divergence there.
Yes.
But she lived as an exchange student in, can you guess where?
Italy?
Yep.
Okay, I was like, it's either that or, I mean, they talk about Brazil a lot.
Oh, they do.
And she likes, Latin American, like, economies, like...
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm starting to see all kinds of threads.
I know.
All right. Well, after that, at 26, she enrolled in the fiction program at Columbia University and got her master's in creative writing.
There you go.
Yep. So after that, her very first novel was Telex from Cuba, which was a finalist for the 2008 National Book Award. And then The Flamethrowers has racked up quite a few recognitions itself. It made the final list for the 2013 National Book Award and was named a top book of 2013 by New York Magazine, Time Magazine, The New Yorker, The Oprah Magazine, Los Angeles Times, Vogue, Wall Street Journal, and many more.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're racking up the awards there.
Just awards on awards on awards.
Or I should say recognition. Racking up recognition.
Yes.
But yeah, she got a Guggenheim Fellowship in 2013 and has also won the Howard D. Verso Award. I don't actually know what that is. I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah.
But she won it for prose. And many of her works now appear in The New Yorker, Harper's, and the Paris Review.
All right.
I know.
Good for her. She's killing it. Yeah.
I think last I read, I think she was living on the West Coast again.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, I could see her. I mean, I could also see kind of, she probably gets a lot of her inspiration for her writing. Like, I mean, specifically for this book, there's a lot of New York in it. Mm-hmm. And so I could see her living in New York again.
Yeah.
But whatever.
All right. Should we jump right into the synopsis of the book?
Yes, please do. I need a recap.
A refresher?
Yes.
All right. So, the basis of the novel is this young woman whose name we never actually learn.
Nope.
They call her Reno. She's from Reno, Nevada. Mm-hmm. Graduates from school with an art degree.
Specifically, Ronnie. It's Ronnie, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie calls her Reno.
Yep.
Okay, go on.
That's what gets it started.
Yes.
Graduates with an art degree and moves out to New York under kind of the impression that that's what you do when you're an artist. You move to New York and you make art and you become a big star, and that's it. Mm-hmm. I think they also mentioned in the book she secretly was following another art student out there that she had a crush on.
Yep.
Never actually got to meet him while she was there, but 2 reasons for moving to New York. A crush, and because that's where you go.
And you want to be an artist.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she moves to New York and she starts to fall in with some of these other artist type. I'm going to say type because I'm not sure how popular they...
Successful, literally any of them are.
Yeah, they make a very, what do I want to say, avant-garde art.
Obscure kind of...
Performance art is a big piece of it.
Yes, you're totally right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, she ends up meeting and dating a gentleman named Sandro Valera.
An older man.
An older man, because that's also what you do when you go to New York.
Yep. You find a sugar daddy.
Yep. And he is a sugar daddy because he is part of the Valera family, which owns motorcycles.
Yep. Moto Valera.
Yep. They also do a ton of other things.
Tires.
They're big in
was
tires.
a big tire thing.
They built or supported a large highway in Italy.
Yep.
They're
fascists.
They are fascists. They love fascism.
They love it. It was big at the time, so I could see, maybe there was an appeal. Everybody was into it.
It was very in vogue.
Yes, in Italy at the time in this book.
So she falls in with him, and while she's dating him, she decides that for one of her art pieces, she wants to go back to Nevada and drive across the salt flats and take pictures of like the tracks and the white salt and the scenery, and she wants to do an art piece about that.
Mm-hmm.
So she travels back to Nevada. Her boyfriend arranges for her to get a brand new Valera motorcycle.
Brand new. No one's ever ridden it before, so people were like obsessed with it.
I think they said it was like the first one in the States at that point, so she was like the first person in the entire country to have this model.
Mm-hmm.
So she picks it up there, races. While she's there in Nevada, the Valera racing team is also at the salt flats, waiting their turn to break, I think it was the land speed record?
Yeah.
She falls in with them. I won't say how, because we'll let you figure that part out.
Yeah.
But she falls in with them and ends up racing one of their cars and breaking the land speed record for women. Not the land speed record, but the land speed record for women.
Exactly.
So the Valera team, super excited about this. They want her to come back and tour in Italy with them, where they're doing more races with their, do I want to say male driver? Does that sound weird?
I forget what his name is, but yeah.
It's something really ridiculous
it's
sounding.
Like Gillespie or something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's something. He's a very minor character.
Yeah, he's kind of a diva, and then something happens to him, and you're like, oh, fuck.
And you're like,
Well, that really sucks. And she's like, but what about me? Oh, God. Anyways.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Okay, I'll wrap it up so we can get into the nitty-gritty of it. But she goes back to New York, tells her boyfriend about all these cool experiences she has in Nevada and this opportunity to go to Italy. He doesn't want her to go.
He doesn't like his family's business at all.
He does not. He's very much, I don't want to be a part of that. That has nothing to do with me.
I'm an artist.
Yep. They're fascist. I've lived in New York City. I want nothing to do with them. But eventually, wears down, and they both go to Italy together. They have a life-turning event happen to them in Italy. I also don't want to say anything to spoil it.
I know. I feel like that's such a big thing that I want to discuss, but yes.
I know. It's a big part of the book.
It's a big part of the book, but we're trying to make it so that we're not ruining anything.
Yeah.
So
because we want you to go read these. They're great.
They're really great. So, yes, big life-changing things. His family is also there, and they're like terrible. They're like terrible people, and they're terrible to her.
They're super, what do I say, stereotypical aristocratic family whose fortunes have kind of fallen a little bit.
Exactly. And then fascists.
And also fascists. They're fascists in a time when it's not fashionable to be a fascist.
Right, exactly. Which is always fascists. Anyways,
out there listening to us right now.
Listening to us.
Don't do it.
Don't turn the page and become a fascist. Anyways,
never ends well.
No, it doesn't. I can tell you now. Hitler, covered in petrol, literally in a ditch.
Yeah, he did not, I can't think of one fascist that has made it out well. At least in the long run.
You know, me neither. Yeah. Anyways, keep
Even,
going. What else happened? The parents are really terrible. We'll talk about them too.
Parents are terrible. This life-changing event happens. She kind of gets stranded in Italy almost. She falls in with a revolutionary group in Italy, which we'll also talk about, but I think we both felt that part was kind of random.
It like happened so fast, and you're like, what the fuck is going
You're like,
on?
what does this mean for the book?
Yeah, and there's some weird jumps in time, which we'll definitely talk about. We
yes.
always have to talk about time with literally every single fucking book.
Because I love it so much.
And there was such a big, I guess we're just like attracted to books that kind of like fuck with time.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, so my next book, I don't think there is a fucky timeline. I mean,
I've never read it, so
the idea of reality is kind of fucky. But yeah, anyways. So I think the timeline is straight. I just
very
want a
linear.
Yes, I want a
Very
linear
orderly.
timeline, not Jeremy Baramy, which is a Good Place reference. You gotta watch that.
Oh no, I don't know that one.
It's so good. But yeah, so she gets kind of like together with these revolutionists. How does she get back to America? But it like kind of jumps to where she is in America
and then jumps back to when she's not.
Yeah, her and Sandra break up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say they break up at the time of the life-changing event. I think it's very much implied.
Yes.
There's your hint.
They're
implied.
not together forever. If you think that this relationship was set for wedding bells, you are obviously, you need to get your shit together.
Yeah, I don't think anybody reading Sandro from the very beginning is like, oh, this is it.
I mean, the first like little passage is about him in the war and killing somebody.
Was that Sandro? I think that's his father.
Oh, is it? I thought.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. Okay, we'll cut that out because I don't know why I was like, no, I thought that was Sandro. Is Sandro ever in war?
No, he isn't. But he plays war with his toys, and his father comes in and is like, "That's not how it really happened. This is what war is actually like."
Yeah, exactly. Because they're fucking crazy. Fascist. Okay, no, you're right. Fascist.
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
So she gets back to New York. She and Sandra are broken up, but they still run around in the same artist circle. So it gets a little awkward for them. I think for me, the end of the book kind of just dragged on a little bit.
Yeah, I thought, the entire last like chapter, I was like, what is going on? That could also have just been me, but I was like, it was really slow. Like the whole parts with like Ronnie at the end of the book so when she first meets Ronnie, he is kind of a romantic, like a hookup kind of.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the book, they kind of like revisit their relationship.
They do. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and I was
just glazed right over.
Yeah, you were like, this is
whatever.
boring. I hate this. No, and you're like, when they talk about it too, it was all just kind of like, why is this important to what is going on literally at any point in the story? Because it's kind of like she wants more validation from like Sandro, like especially when he gets this like terrible news and she goes and she like tries to comfort him, but he's not there, and then he shows up to like a party that they're going to with like an even younger model of her, which you're like, what did you expect?
Because I don't know if I know the exact age difference between her and Sandro, but he's something like 40.
Yeah, and she's like 25, 23 or 25.
Yeah, in her early 20s is what I was trying to say.
How old are you when you graduate art school?
22.
Yeah, my thoughts. And so she's pretty fresh out of art school, so I'm like 23 to 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Because, that whole thing just seemed, rather pointless. And then there's the whole, like, Giovanni with, like, the revolutionists, which portion of it, I'm like, what? I just felt like I was not the person that they were intending this book to be for.
Well, I really liked the beginning parts of it. Mm-hmm. I think I liked everything up until the Giovanni revolutionary part.
Right.
Giovanni is like the head revolutionary in this group she falls in with.
Yes.
If you're not familiar.
She also meets him at at Sandra's parents' villa.
Yes.
Where he's like a groundskeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And when that like bad thing happens, Giovanni agrees to like take her into, is it Milan? Where?
Were they in Milan? They might have been.
Rome? I think. I don't remember. They're in some Italian city where the factory is, and he takes her, and then she doesn't stay. She was planning on staying with Sandro, and then situations happen, and then he agrees to take her with him back to, I believe he's in Rome. And that's where she meets up with all of these revolutionary, like, young revolutionists. Like, they're very young. And, like, you don't get a lot of that in the story. It's not a big part of the story. So it's almost, to me, it's a question of, like, what did that do to the message she was trying to convey?
And I don't have any answer for it.
I have no answer either. That's why I'm like, I think that's why I'm like, I don't know. This book wasn't made for me because I'm not smart.
You are smart.
I am smart. I'm totally smart. But I'm like totally like smart, you know? But
guys, you don't even know. I'm so smart now.
I'm so smart. But I found myself trying to find reasons for actions or the way that she decided to write things. And try to find, like, the meaning behind it. But I had a lot of trouble doing that. Because this book seems a lot more... I mean, both this book and Where the Crawdads Sing are done by more modern... your mom's going to hit you.
I know. She is.
But they're more modern writers, but I feel like I was able to get a better handle on kind of like what the story is supposed to be and what the themes of the story are and what it all means. Versus this one where I'm like, I think I have to think more like conceptually, like, and I was having a hard time with that.
Yeah, I have 2 points for this.
Okay.
First one, most of the criticisms that you read about this book are about those end parts where everyone's like, it feels very like rushed, it feels very random.
It's like she was trying to make a point.
Yeah, but you're not quite sure. The point wasn't fully fleshed out to the point where you were, the point wasn't fully fleshed out to the point. So many points. Where you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Everything snapped into place. We're good. Move on.
Right.
My second point is, it may have been intentional in that she was trying to showcase how random life and art is. And how there is no meaning to it. Things just happen, and that's what it is. You just have to deal with it and move on from it.
That makes sense, too. Because, like, the very end of the book, she's kind of, like, left alone, and she's, like, left there waiting. And it feels like you're also there left waiting for what is happening. Like, what's going to happen next? You have to tell me what's going to happen next, and then it just doesn't happen.
I was going to read that line at the very end, but yeah, the very last line is like...
We have to read it at the end, too, so...
They're like, move on to the next question. Like, this one didn't get solved. It's like you're taking a standardized test. You can't figure out the question. They're like, just move on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You don't have time for this.
That's right. I like that. That's my thing, is like, at the beginning, I thought that... I'm going to be completely honest. I thought it was very pretentious. And oops, I just hit my own mic. I
got so excited.
I got so excited
like, pretension.
About fucking pretentious asses. But no, like, and that's just not something that I can, like, understand. And I don't think I'm definitely not an artist. And I'm definitely not in, like, any particular art scene. And I remember in college... I would come in contact with people that were like this, that were artists, and I was like, I think she did a great job portraying them. I don't understand you, so I don't think I want to. And I think that was something I struggled with in the beginning. But then when she gets, it kind of goes into like her backstory in New York and how she's just trying to really kind of come to terms with, okay, I'm alone, I'm in the city, I don't know anything. I don't know these people. I only know what they're telling me. And I was able to finally kind of start relating to it, and I started to like it more. And then it got to the ending, and I was like, well, fuck off.
I hate all of this.
I hate this. No, it's good, though.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite book, for certain. But there are certain parts of it that I'm like, man, that just, like, really hit home. And I really love that. And I think the biggest part for me was when she was racing. And I wish there had been more scenes or more discussions about her racing either the motorcycle or the Valera car.
Yeah, I agree with that because it was almost like they started to skim over it. I think that would have really worked well if we had also heard a little bit more about her, like, childhood, because she talks a little bit about her brothers and, like, or her cousins.
They're cousins.
Yeah, cousins, but they all lived in the same family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she starts to, like, touch on those pieces of Reno, but we just never get, like, enough. But I guess that's also kind of goes back to the, like, that's not a question that needed to be answered at the time, like they say in the end. And so and they just didn't bring it up, and she just didn't bring it up. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, we can. That actually gives me a really good segue to discussing the feminist undertones
Absolutely.
in the book.
Let's do it.
All right.
You know how I feel about feminist writing and how women are portrayed. I love it.
Yep.
Go on.
So this book, I think, was really interesting because Rachel Kushner actually in the afterword said about Reno, she's the female narrator who has the last word and technically all the words, but is nevertheless continually overrun, effaced, and silenced by the very masculine world of the novel.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, that's the whole novel.
That is a fucking novel.
Reno is the protagonist, but who are the characters that stand out? Sandro, Ronnie, her cousins,
Giovanni,
even
Robert,
Mark and Eric, the guys from the film place where she works as a China girl.
Which they're like constantly just kind of like rolling, like brushing over anything she says and not listening to her. Like she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be gone for like months," and they're like, let me talk about literally anything else, like not even address what you just said to me."
Yep.
Oh.
Exactly. And I think it also really ties into with, so from 1960s to about 1980s was the second wave of feminism, which really advocated for women's rights in the workplace, also against like sexual harassment, reproductive rights, rather than the first wave of feminism, which was mostly just strictly about voting rights.
Yeah, we would like to vote.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
But what kicked off the second wave of feminism was Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex. And in it, she has this quote, "What is woman? She argues that man is considered the default, while woman is considered the other. Thus humanity is male, and male defines women not as herself, but as relative to him." So it's...
And that's literally like the entire almost like narrative of this book is her relation in terms of like other people and other men specifically.
It's other men.
Yeah, because it's always Ronnie and Sandro. And who's the guy at the fucking hotel that she like stays in his room?
What is
He's
his
like
name?
a fucking rando character.
His name is like... It's
like
something weird. It's like Slick or something.
Sketch or something. Yeah, it's like...
Hold on, I'll look for it.
Yeah, but even that part, I was like, why are they focusing so much on that? And then also when she's on the bike and there's that guy that's like, you look really pretty, like, dead or something, because, like, he expects her to...
You'll look really pretty in a body bag or something
yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
And it's like, she focused on that a lot, too. No wonder I fucking hate this book, because I'm like, it's all about these annoying-ass men.
Yep.
Chase Andrews. All Chase Andrews.
Yep. His name was Stretch. I just found
Stretch.
it. I knew it was something weird like Slick or Stretch or Slink or...
I was like,
don't know.
Sketch? I don't know. Oh my gosh, that actually just makes so much more sense.
Everything into context, because even too...
Now I want to reread it.
I say one thing I noticed too is even when she's talking about her childhood, you almost never hear anything about her mother. You only exclusively hear about Uncle Bobby that
And her
also lived in the
cousins.
house and the two boy cousins that lived with her. Scott and Andy?
Yeah.
I might be making that one up. I can't remember the cousins' names.
I think the only other female, so there are multiple other females that they talk about, but they are also only in relation to males. Because, like, Sandra's mother is very much all in relation to, like, Sandro, or is it Roberto? Roberto, which is Sandra's brother. And then the man that's with her, who is...
Oh, the writer.
The writer, yeah, exactly. And then his cousin, Sandra's cousin, who is a female, and that is all in relation to Sandro and Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's so interesting. Now that I'm like seriously thinking about it all, that's clever.
Yeah, right?
Fuck.
As I started to like think about it more, I was like, man, this just like ties straight into the second wave of feminism, which was happening during the same period of time. And where did Rachel Kushner work when she was 5?
at a feminist bookstore. Jesus.
Do you know what was on the end cap? Probably The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir.
Probably. I love it. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
that's actually really cool. Now that I'm like thinking about that in that way. I just like, I was like, all these characters really kind of just pissed me off. And now I know why.
Yep.
I just never thought about it in that way.
I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves props and say this is what this podcast is about. Looking at the books and finding those threads to make it even better when you read it the second time.
It's true. Now I really want to go back and reread it because I'm like, shit. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's like everything because you never get like really even a moment where it's just her alone because like, except for when she's on the bike. And when she's on the bike, it's all about speed.
Yeah, and that I will argue is when she's her most true self. Because she's not really thinking about her relationship. She's not really thinking about her art. It's just strictly about speed and the feeling of moving.
Right, and being able to finally move forward versus when she's with other people. All the time, like whenever she is with other people, it's almost as though like time is standing still. Like it seems like nothing is progressing. Like she's not moving forward with her art.
Yep.
That's only when she's on her own as well.
Yep.
But then it also tends to, I mean, it tends to really kind of take a step back when, and it's all based around the other men in her life. It's always like either Sandra doesn't want her to do it or Roberto or these other people. It's all the revolution and like they're having to deal with that. And that kind of puts her art career on hold, which, I mean, it's fascist Italy. I mean, your art may not be that important.
I was going to say, do fascists like art?
I don't think they do.
I don't know.
Hitler did. Is he a fascist? He's technically a fascist.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. He drew German Shepherds.
That makes me think of the It's Always Sunny episode where they find the German Shepherd picture. And then when you see Adolf Hitler like scribbled in the corner.
Yep.
Oh, that's so
That's
funny.
good shit. Anyways,
Oh, man.
yes, no, that was wonderful.
Ooh.
That was very insightful. This is why I have Ginnye on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Because, well, why we created the show together. Because I'm the bitch, she's the book.
I love the books. I'm the huge nerd. I had
the
so much fun
brains.
looking this up. I
I
was
love
like
it.
looking up quotes from The Second Sex and tying it all together.
Yeah, man. I need to do my homework more on my books now that I'm thinking about it.
That's okay. We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about child sex and it, I mean, there's no real looking into that.
I mean, yeah. Don't look too far into that
can't.
one.
You can't.
That was one of the things you shouldn't.
You look too deep and you see it staring right back at you and you're just down in the depths of the void at that
Where
point.
they all float.
Oh!
Man, that part just like freaks me
It
out
just like
so much.
sticks in your fucking...
I know. I
mean,
keep hearing it in my dreams.
I mean... Oh, and they say it so much. I'm sorry. We shouldn't be talking about it. But like in the movie and stuff, it's fucking terrifying. We still need to watch it.
We do.
We still need to watch it.
We'll
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure out a date. Okay, well, I have 2 places we can go from here. We
Okay.
can continue on the speed track, because I have a couple other things about that. Or we can talk about names, because I think names are a really important part of this book.
I love both of those concepts. Let's stick with speed and then we'll close it out with
names.
our names. Yes.
All right, I love it.
Okay.
Well, going onward with speed, another thing that other critics have pointed out, which, I'm sorry, I did not have this original thought. This was pointed out in other reviews. But
So noble of you.
I know. Giving credit where credit is due.
Yes.
But one overarching theme, too, with this is the rise and fall of fortunes and how quickly that happens. You see it both within the Valera family.
Yes. You say that a lot. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yep. You see it within Reno's artist community, where one season a particular artist is like the hot thing of the season, and then the next season they're cast out, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So you see it across the book where people's fortunes are just rising and falling without any kind of rhythm or reason to it.
I mean, it's the same with Reno as well. Like, her fortune it really goes up and down the entire novel.
Yep, exactly. And I think the point was really driven home at the end when there was an artist, and I gotta look up his name because I can't remember. But in an earlier part of the book, this artist, nobody wanted anything to do with him. He was incredibly pushy. Everyone thought his art was like parochial. Didn't want anything to do with him. Reno comes back from Italy, and suddenly he's like the hot thing of the season. And she notes too, even that his like demeanor has completely changed. Instead of being kind of like the clingy friend that nobody wants around, he's suddenly much more like confident and assured. He has a new girlfriend. He dresses nicely. So it was really interesting that they chose to highlight that at the very end of the book.
Right. Right. Because even when you're kind of thinking about, like, some of the other characters, like Sandro, he also kind of has those, like, ups and downs. And I think that his ups and downs end up being bookmarked by women.
Oh, that is an interesting twist.
Yeah, because it's like he has Reno. Well, I mean, and you kind of go back and forth with his backstory. Because, like, at first it's the nun, and then...
Oh, I think that's the father still.
Is that the father still? You
Yeah.
lie. I
No,
thought that was Sandro.
So the book's a little weird. There's a lot of flashbacks to the father, who is just called Valera. And then Sandro has, like, flashbacks to his childhood in the, like, last fourth of the book.
Oh, well, see, I only remember... So I know Valera was the ones in Brazil. That was a lot of that.
That's the father.
Okay. Well, I'm all confused, so I take that back.
There's lots of Valeras.
Yeah. But, I mean, he has those kind of, like, bookmarks with, like, Reno and, like, those moments with, like, his mother and then also his cousin.
Yep.
And then the new female in his life, too. So, kind of, I see those, like, ups and downs coming from kind of those, like, female impacts.
Yeah.
And kind of those just end up bookmarking kind of those areas.
Yeah. And we can also talk about Sandro's flashback, because that was, like, a huge thing for me. I was like, why is this at the end of the book? It's a flashback to his childhood, and you start to see, like, his relationship with his father, a little bit of the relationship between his father and his mother. And it almost felt forced to me. Like, the author was saying, oh, look, Sandro's not so bad. He had a terrible childhood, and his parents were dysfunctional. And it's like, no, he was still an asshole.
Yeah, and then, like, I think kind of close to the very end, it talks about kind of why he ends up doing what he does, like, in opposition to, like, Reno. And I'm like, you know, I really couldn't give a shit less about his decision to be that shitty of a person. And, I mean, they definitely just, like, made it very obvious that, oh, you're not supposed to hate him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let me tell his story. And it's like, I don't really want it, though.
At that point, I did not want it. If it had been interweaved earlier in the book, maybe when they were in Italy, using place as an opportunity to jump back in time, I would have maybe appreciated it then.
Yeah, but at the end, it's almost like, okay, I'm just trying to get this to be over. At this point, we've gotten a little bit more of, like, Ronnie and Reno's relationship, and you're just kind of like, everybody's terrible. Yeah, so I don't really care about this person.
Very stereotypical, self-absorbed artists that, you know, have no roots. They just do whatever they want. No responsibilities.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's super interesting.
Yeah. I would have appreciated it earlier in the book, I think.
Yeah, especially with his, like, childhood, like, backstory. Like, that for sure, I think, could have been used a little bit earlier. Because kind of with, like, the rest of his family, too. Like, all you think is that they're, like, terrible people. And, I mean, he has that moment in that flashback with, like, his brother Roberto, too. Where, like, they kind of connect those two. And at that point, I think, you get bad. I mean,
it's already over with Roberto.
Exactly.
Like, his presence in the book is done with.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, well...
Yeah.
It could have done more to, like, kind of help drive the kind of creation of your characters and just kind of, like, looking into who they are versus just seeming like it's kind of just tucked at the end and kind of just an afterthought almost.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole end of the book is, like, an afterthought. Maybe that's the point.
It could be. Randomized chaos.
Yeah. Which is life.
Yep, that's true. All right. Wait, did I have anything else on speed? I did not. Do you
Okay.
want to jump to names?
Yes,
This
let's
one I've
do the
been really
names.
excited for.
Yeah.
So I guess we already talked about this a little bit, but we don't know Reno's real name.
No, you don't get her name
I
at all.
searched for it. I actually went into like
Kept
an
forgetting.
ebook. I know.
I was like, I totally forgot her name. She's boring.
Yep. I would say I went into like an ebook version and did like, Control F and like tried to find like what her actual name was. Nothing.
Yeah. And Reno is only given to her by a male.
Yes.
So let's bring him back to the feminism.
Yep. And even along with that, most of the male characters have very, prominent names.
First name last, at least, for most of them.
Yeah, and then a lot of the female characters go unnamed, like Reno, her mother. And then there's also characters like Giddle.
Giddle, who you're not even sure if that is her name.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so.
But nobody knows what her real name is. And she's also changed it a couple of times. Like when she was acting as a waitress.
Yes.
She wore a name tag named Patricia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the identity of women isn't so kind of structured and sound. It's almost like an afterthought.
Yep.
Kind of, not just in the book, but to people in general. Just kind of like, Rachel's really focusing in on this like feminist undertones.
Yep.
But what do we know the first and last name of his cousin and his mother? Valera is his mother's last name, but do we know his mother's first name?
That is a good question.
I tried to look up character names before we got started, and that was already kind of tough. It was a tough
If
time.
we know the mother's name, I'm going to say it came from one of the male characters, either his father, who goes by Valera, or by the writer. Because I think the writer, they had a fight in the dining room one time, and I think the writer may have said her name.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, and I know.
Oh, yep. The writer says her name, Alba.
Oh, Alba. Okay. Yeah, because and it probably only comes up like once in the entirety of the novel. Because, like, I'm still struggling to find his cousin's name as well.
Talia?
Talia. Thank you. Yes. Talia's name is actually, they go into it because Sandra goes into why he likes it so much, because she's not a Valera. She's it's something stupid.
No.
I don't want to say it's like aqueduct or something, but it's like, it's like something stupid that her father or somebody, a grandfather, had created something, and his last name is that thing. I seriously have to look it up now.
Like, it's not even I don't want to say a real last name, but a last name that's been passed down.
Yeah. And it's
more like one that's been assigned to them.
Yes, kind of. And it's like, oh shit, here it is. Control F. Oh, but Reno, I think, thinks her name is like Talia Valera.
But it's not. It's something
It's
different.
not. It's something. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I cannot find anything about it. And I thought that was so interesting that was the name. And I think it comes up when, it mostly comes up when Sandra's trying to talk about what happened with him and the cousin and why he acted the way that he did, because he finds that to be something like a positive about her, that she wasn't a Valera, that she was something else. But I think she ended up changing her name to Valera.
Yeah, I'm at the part where they're talking a little bit about Talia's backstory. Like, oh man, I don't see it in here.
Okay, it's fine.
We will find it and we will tweet it out
at some point. Yes, it's like it's really like the most random object, and that's what it is. That's what her last name is, and you're like, oh, okay, that's her name. But he's the only one that brings up like a first name, last name with a female and openly discusses it. And so that kind of makes her being and her identity is like attached to him and what he has to say about it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Within the constructs of this novel.
Exactly.
She is important because of the importance that Sandra has given her.
Yes, that's exactly right. exactly
Damn.
right. That's so good. Names. The names are really interesting, too, because, yeah, I think she goes into, I mean, she's sitting there and she's talking to the, like, Southern couple. I can't remember what their names are. Or one of them's Southern. They might not have been Southern, but the audiobook I was listening to gave them Southern accents. But basically, when she meets Ronnie, she meets these people, and I think that whenever she talks to a female, I think she thinks that they're potentially lying or putting on a show, whereas the men that she talks to, it's almost like she believes what they say and she takes it for 100%. Versus like with Giddle and with that particular character too, she's like, these people are, or they're probably lying to me. They're probably not telling me the truth.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know. She does say that a lot after Giddle's stories. It's like, I don't know if that happened, or I don't even know if that's her real name. That's just what I call her. There's a lot of like doubt behind her relationship with Giddle. And that's her, theoretically, her best friend in the novel.
That's true. I mean, and she turns out to be a shitty person too.
Yes. They're all shady.
All of them suck. Even Reno kind of sucks, and you're like, okay. She's just... I mean, she doesn't suck. It's just, I mean, she's so much better at the end of the book, where she's kind of, like, released her... what other people kind of, like, have expected from her, and how she kind of puts a lot of herself into what somebody else is and what somebody else is doing. Like when she was with Sandro, she was very much Sandro, and when she was like with Ronnie, she was like, oh, I'm on his lap, like, why am I doing this? And I let him take my hat. Why did I let him do that? Kind of those situations where she loses herself into these people, which also probably has a lot to do with identity, and that's probably a huge theme in the book.
I didn't hate Reno, but I felt like she was immature, for sure.
The end of it, she just gets so much better.
Yeah, exactly. But you're seeing the evolution of her getting better, rather than her being, you know, a strong character from the get-go and holding through.
Yeah, which is very true, which is actually really funny, because in the beginning, she's doing this thing that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah, racing on the salt flats?
Yeah, that's, like, terrifying. And, I mean, I think when she's by herself and she's having those moments where she's, like, reckless, that's kind of the most developed kind of her character is. Like, we kind of talked about it. And then when she's with other people, it's the other people that are defining her. So, I mean, that's just so interesting.
Yeah. She also talks a lot about skiing, because skiing was kind of like her first taste of speed. But skiing and motorcycle racing are both solitary activities. You don't do them with other people. So it's like when she's alone and going fast is when she's most herself.
That's interesting. I love it. I think I'm going to reread this book. I have so many yoga books to read, but I'm like, I have to reread this book now.
You can slip it in there.
I know. I have to slip it in between books about keeping semen inside your body instead of not. Sorry, guys.
This will be a good counterbalance.
Yes, exactly. I can't.
It's very feminine.
I can't do yoga on my period, and men have to keep semen in their bodies, and it creates a sweet smell. It's fucking weird. Yoga books.
It sounds very uncomfortable.
Yes, it is a little while I read again. That's why I take pictures and I send them to you.
I know you do. I saw that
Maybe
one.
I'll post that on our Book and Bitch Instagram.
There you go. And you'll be like, now I understand what she was talking about.
Yes, now you know what I'm actually talking about, because that probably just came out of nowhere, keeping semen in my body.
It's real. It's in a book, a yoga book.
It's in a book. It's in a yoga book, and it's pretty old. But yeah, no. I actually am like really appreciating kind of all your insights, because this is why we have this podcast too, because I'm like, if I was to just read that, I probably would have stopped after a while, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And then now I'm like kind of like getting these like more contextual kind of like references. I'm like, okay, now I have to reread it, and I need to not read or listen to the audiobook. I need to actually read it.
Yeah,
because those characters probably weren't Southern.
I really can't remember. There's a couple different like couple pairings.
Yeah, because there's
book,
like
so
some that are more like the artsy ones, and then there's the ones that she meets like in the beginning. that are like,
taking the photographs in the bar.
yes. Oh, they're the ones that shoot each other with blanks.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And she's like, yeah, this is normal. This is fine.
Yeah. They're like, you can still hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And they're like point blank shooting their genitals.
Yeah.
Blanks.
Oh.
That was probably another thing that I was like reading it and I was like, or listening to it. I was like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, the 70s, man. They're crazy.
People were crazy. Yeah, for sure. All right. Is there anything else you want to discuss?
I had two more things under names.
Okay.
The first one, Valera. I don't know if you ever hear his first name either. He always refers to himself by his last name.
Which is like his entire identity.
Yep, is the family, Valera.
Yeah.
And that's Sandra's father for reference.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of Valeras running around this book.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And I don't think anybody else calls him by anything.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But to me, it kind of demonstrates his ego a little bit.
Definitely.
Like, he's so high on the pedestal that he can't be called by his given Christian name. He has to be called by his last name.
Yeah, I'm having a really tough time, like, trying to remember if he ever did get called by his first name. Yeah. And I think that also he's in such probably a high position that people wouldn't call him that anyways. Yep. So if you're in such high standing with literally everything in your life, how does that affect kind of who you think that you are?
Yeah.
And like, how did Roberto like kind of take that? Because he had to kind of take over the family business. So like, yeah, but he is definitely Roberto.
He's not Valera. He's Roberto.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That is interesting. I didn't even think about that. Mostly because I have no idea that it was... Well, I knew that his dad had some, but I completely missed that some of them were Sandro, some of them weren't... A lot of them weren't Sandro.
Yep. That's how you distinguish it is. Valera always calls himself Valera. Even when he's talking about himself as like a 10-year-old boy living in Egypt. He refers to himself as Valera.
Right. And that would make sense too, because Sandro is so kind of completely anti-Valera. So
that's true. He just goes by Sandro.
He does.
You don't learn his last name for a really long time. And even then it's only in connection with the motorcycle.
Right. Right. Yep. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Only other last thing I have under names is Ronnie, who from the very first we never learn his name.
We don't know his name.
He won't give it up. Reno doesn't ask for it, but he also very explicitly says he won't tell her his name.
Yeah, because they have like a mini conversation about it where she just says, I don't think I heard your name, or I think I forgot your name. And he was like, yeah.
Yeah. That's...
I'm cool. My name's not Ronnie.
Yep, I have no name.
I have no name.
And then there's a scene towards the very end where they're at a party. I can't remember if it's a dinner party or what it is, but he starts introducing himself by different names to people he hasn't met yet. So Ronnie's this kind of interesting hybrid character.
I did like Ronnie a lot. He was an ass, but...
He is an ass, but like a lovable ass.
Yeah, like he gives Sandro shit, and I find that really funny. Oh my gosh, the book names, the titles of the books. Oh my gosh, they're so good. This is why I think I really enjoyed Ronnie's character, because it was like some much needed, like, kind of comedy kind of thrown in slightly. But I think it's really funny, yeah. And I think it's really funny that he does not have an explicit name. Like, other people, I think, end up telling her that his name is Ronnie. He doesn't. True. I don't know if he even, like, introduces himself to her after the fact. They just talk about how it was weird that, like, she sees him and she meets up with him, and this guy that she slept with, and she's now with Sandro, and they're actually really close, yada, yada. And so... It's very confusing, but he has all these book titles.
Yes, so there is
for his memoir.
There is one section in the book where it's just a single chapter, and it's all of the autobiographical titles that Ronnie has written on, I think, like a piece of butcher paper.
Yeah,
in his apartment. And so we'll read them because they're pretty great. But it's Table for Two for One, an autobiography. The Other Side of Tender, a life. Married but Looking, my story. Manhandled. An autobiography. Who Ate All the Pussy? One man's journey. I forgot some of these are pretty rough.
It's okay. We got the explicit little tag.
Yeah. Don't let your children listen to this.
It has bitch in the title. I think we're fine.
Oh, that's true. I always forget that. All right.
Who
next
ate all
one.
the pussy?
One man's journey.
One man's journey. He's like, I did. It was me.
I was that one man.
Oh, fuck.
Let's see. Friendly Fire. My Trials and Triumphs. Potato in a ski mask. The true untold story.
Which is like, what?
Why?
What?
Did he look like a potato? Is that what the joke was?
Maybe. And like, so I think that a lot of these two are so funny because you just don't know much of anything about any of these characters, to be completely honest.
Because Ronnie, they go into a whole thing at the end too, where he's like telling this story about his childhood and how he was like
taken and put on a boat.
Yeah, he lost his memory. He got hit in the back of the head with like a railway tie or something.
Yeah, he said a railway tie, which I was like,
would kill you,
Jesus
probably.
Fucking Christ, yeah.
But yeah, he goes into this whole backstory about how he was on the ship and how he sailed all over with like these billionaires. And then one day he just woke up and remembered, hey, I don't belong here, and called his parents from some island to come get him.
Yep, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that also has to deal with like also in that moment, Reno thinks that he's specifically trying to talk to her, like, through code almost. Yes. And so how much of that story is actually even true
versus what was he trying to convey with that story?
That's right.
Because Sandro points that out too, and he's like, you just have to listen to Ronnie and he'll tell you what he's thinking, but you have to listen. And it's about how Ronnie never like straightforward says what he means or he thinks. He interweaves it with all of these stories, games, nuances.
Yeah, and I think you actually, like, in the end, you start to think, like, okay, Ronnie probably is the only one that, like, probably genuinely cared for her. I think he does. I think he did. Maybe I'm just trying to, like, pull something out of it, because, like, everybody else is, like, feeds into themselves and like feeds into what they want. Like Sandro is all about young women and that's like helps feed himself. Giovanni, I don't know, he needed a getaway ride.
Reno was convenient. She was American.
Yep, exactly. And so it seems like out of all the people, and like that other guy had no idea she even like existed. Like he didn't even give her a right phone number. The guy that she went to New York, I think his name was like Charles something.
Yeah,
Chris Kelly.
Chris Kelly. That sounds familiar.
Isn't that? I know a Chris Kelly, so I think I remember it as Chris Kelly. But
I want to say it's Chris.
Mm-hmm. And so
something.
Everybody else that she's slightly infatuated with, is just kind of like using her for gains. It's like, what is Ronnie using her for?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
If he is using her for something, it's not overtly stated the way it is with Sandro
and all the rest. Yeah. Interesting.
All right. So Ronnie may be the good guy out of all of this.
Maybe I don't hate Ronnie.
He's slightly less hated than when we began.
Yeah, I kind of always... I mean, I thought that chapter with the fucking book titles was, like, the funniest shit. I was sitting there at work, and I was, like, cracking up.
They're just, like, so obscure and absurdist that...
Exactly. And it's like you have no idea. You don't know anything about this person, about this character. Because even when, like, he comes back and he's, like, beaten up, supposedly that story was a lie, too, about the rabbits and, like, driving so fast.
Oh, yeah. And he killed somebody's rabbits, essentially, and the guy beat the shit out of him for killing his rabbits.
Right, but you don't get that part. You don't... Like, it's supposedly that wasn't even right, like, true. Because, like, eventually that guy comes back and, like, they're not cool.
Oh, wait, yeah, they're not cool.
Yeah, and he said that they were. Like, he came in and he killed a chicken and they had food and they were fine. And that didn't happen.
Broke chicken together.
Yes, you call that. Broke chicken neck together.
No.
Yeah. No, yeah. Ronnie, you're an enigma. And I like your character.
Just like art.
Oh, maybe he is the idea. Maybe
the
that's what it
essence.
is. Maybe that's why at the end she's grown. Now she can become her art. Maybe he is the idea of what her art is, and she's found her love in it. I don't know. I'm just pulling shit out of my asshole at this
it
point.
sounded good.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
Yeah.
I did not.
I was going to say it sounded good.
Thanks.
I believed it.
Good. Awesome. They could pay me money now.
There you go.
I just helped review your book, Rachel Kushner. Give me money.
Please.
Money, please. Anyways, what else? Anything else?
No, I think that was all I had. Well, I guess one last thing that I found really interesting about the book was the China Girl references. Where she worked as a China girl. And if you don't know what that is, it is essentially models that they used in filmmaking. And they would take pictures of these models so that they could match skin tone on film because, you had no concept and you could end up turning someone like bright red or orange or something like that.
And technically, this is one of the reasons why people of color do not look great in film sometimes, because cameras were not made for them. They were made for white people. Yes. So it's inherently racist.
It is. And it's also fairly sexist, too, because she does talk a little bit about how with the China girls, you could use any face you wanted to. It didn't matter. It just had to be a human face. But they always specifically chose very pretty white girls for it.
Yep.
And there's a scene where she comes back from racing and she's covered in like bruises and scratches. And the guys that are doing the film testing give her shit about it. And they're like, oh, your face is all messed up. We don't even know if we can use these now. And she makes the comment what does it matter? You just need a human face. It doesn't have to be.
You need a skin tone.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. So I found that part very interesting too.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. All the moments with them were very interesting in that way because, it's funny that Kushner decided to kind of point that out and have that be her particular job. Because she could have gotten, any job.
Yeah.
And then she decided to make her one of those references.
Yep.
I like that.
I had to look it up, too. I was like, I have no idea what a China girl is.
I didn't know it by that name, but I do... in a lot of journalism classes and graphic design and editing classes that I took in college, we talked about having skin tone references. And then I also know that they're inherently racist.
Makes sense.
And that's why a lot of people, in earlier films, a lot of black people looked very dark. There was no color or texture or whatever to their skin because it was just so darkened out because they had nothing to reference it to.
Yeah.
And they didn't care to.
Because they didn't make a reference for it.
Exactly. They only had beautiful white women.
Yep.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. I think that's all I had.
I love it.
We went through my bullet point list. I'm done.
I love it. I love the list. The list was great. I was like, I'm not going to have anything to talk about. But
you have plenty to talk
that
about.
That never stops me. I never shut up.
Nope. I say you had a lot of great comments, though. It pulled some threads together for me that I didn't realize.
Well, I mean, I had no idea that this was a feminist book. I'm an idiot.
You do.
Now I know. I know for sure.
Now you can go back. You and everyone else can go and read it with fresh eyes.
Exactly. This is why we have Mrs. Kubel in the office today, in the classroom today.
Yeah.
She's a professor of actually reading books.
Words.
Yes.
I love words.
Words. She loves them.
I do.
All right, well, let's wrap this thing up. Let's let these kids get out of here.
All right.
You can find us on the internet, Book and Bitch, on Twitter and Instagram at Book and Bitch Pod. You can also visit our website, www.bookandbitch.com. Ginnye, what's our next book going to be?
Ooh, it's Neverwhere.
No, it's yours.
Oh, it's my book?
Yeah, it's your book.
Oh, never mind. Okay, scratch that.
Scratch that.
It is The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler.
I love it.
Because one fun fact about me, I love mysteries.
She loves a mystery.
I love mysteries so much.
I'm excited because, I've also decided that we're going to do a little film study with this book as well, and we're going to watch The Big Sleep, which is Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that.
No, I'm very excited.
Yes.
Bringing all kinds of cultural context.
Yes. And then after that episode comes out, we are going to be discussing Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, which is going to be such a great conversation to have. I love Neil Gaiman. I love his work.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun.
I'm very excited.
I'm also excited. So yeah, but where can we find you on the internet?
Ooh, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at glcubel_rights. Or you can find me on my website, www.glcubel.com.
I love it. You can find me on the internet as well, at Raven_co-op, COOP. And yeah, you can listen to my other podcast, Co-op the Podcast. You can also watch me play Dungeons and Dragons on Tuesdays at 7 p.m.
Do it. Watch them both.
Twitch.tv/Graticus. So there we go. And yeah, the last quote, it's all you.
Last line.
Which we kind of already said.
I know.
No,
Sorry,
but
guys.
it's good. No, I love it.
All right. Here we go. It's dark. I hear a small group of men call to one another in German. See them pass by, their pom-pom ski hats bobbing, a squeak of fresh snow under their boots. They're gone now. The wind whistles through the trees, branches floating up and down with slow, wild elegance. I'm alone at the base of the run, almost too cold to move. The answer is not coming. I have to find an arbitrary point inside the spell of waiting, the open absence, and tear myself away. Leave with no answer. Move on to the next question.
Okay, bye. Bye. I feel like we were so low.